This short video will review the changes to the OHM BOCES Checkpoint A examination for modern languages. The changes covered on this video will affect Checkpoint A exams for Chinese, French, Italian, and Spanish. Our American Sign Language exams remain unchanged at this time. So why are these changes necessary? Well, most of these changes stem from an update to the principles and guidelines for adopting or creating locally developed benchmark assessments for Checkpoint A put out by the New York State Education Department. In particular, NYSED now specifically states that students must complete 3 speaking tasks under interpersonal communication. Additionally, in April 2025, NYSED released the principles and guidelines for adopting or creating locally developed benchmark assessments for Checkpoint B. These guidelines are to go into effect during the 2026-2027 school year. As we began to work with this new guidance to shape the direction of our future Checkpoint B exams, we realized that slight adjustments were needed in our Checkpoint A rubrics in order to align with state requirements, be consistent with the terminology used across our rubrics, and create a logical progression through the state-provided proficiency levels. Before we get into these changes, there is one other substantial addition to the manual. On page 10, there is a new section titled "What Portions of the Exam May Be Translated." In May of last year, OHM BOCES announced that we were allowing portions of the exam to be translated for ELL students. This change is in response to guidance from NYSED and affects all of our Checkpoint exams, not just Checkpoint A. OHM BOCES now allows for the local translation of English language on our exams to support ELL students. All directions on the exam may be translated and provided to students in writing, or they may be translated and provided orally. Any English language questions, answer choices, and prompts may only be translated orally. No written translation may be provided. Only direct translations are permitted. No clarifications or explanations may be given. Target language passages on the exam may not be translated. There are a few important reminders with this change. Number 1, the accuracy of any translation is the responsibility of the school district. And you will also see in the important box here, any IEP or 504 plans do supersede these explanations. IEP and 504 plans must be followed. Now I'm going to go through the rest of the manual, noting any substantial changes. For your reference, the page in the manual where you can find these changes is listed at the upper right-hand side of your screen. As mentioned previously, the largest change that you will see is that Part 1, Interpersonal Speaking, is now composed of 3 parts. These are Part 1A, Interview, Part 1B, Roleplay, and Part 1C, Interview or Roleplay. Each part is now worth 10 points instead of 15. For Part 1C, Interview or Roleplay, students will have the choice of which type of task they would like to complete. On page 7, we have updated directions for randomly selecting prompts. They state, direct the student to randomly select 2 prompts. Provide the student up to 1 minute to read both prompts. Consider how to approach each conversation and choose one to complete. The prompt not chosen is returned to the deck and may be randomly selected for Part 1C. The key word here is randomly. Students are not permitted to save a prompt from Part 1A or Part 1B to prepare and use for Part 1C. However, they may happen to randomly select this prompt for Part 1C, and that is okay. On page 11, there is new language detailing the scoring of Part 1. As our rubrics were made on a 15-point scale and the new task is worth 10 points, we have elected to use a conversion chart, which you can see here. Here is our rubric. I'm going to go through each dimension and explain the changes that you will see. You will notice that the substance of each dimension is generally the same. However, we hope that the updated wording helps to clarify certain sections. Starting with completion of task. We have changed the title for each descriptor. They now read completes task, partially completes task, and minimally completes task. And then finally we have does not complete task. We felt this more accurately described student performance in this dimension. Under completes task, we have added the sentence, one requirement may be more fully addressed than the other. So it reads, the student completes the task using the targeted language function to clearly maintain and advance the conversation while addressing both requirements of the prompt. One requirement may be more fully addressed than the other. While students need to address both requirements of the prompt, they do not have to devote equal time to each in order to receive full credit. Under partially completes task, the language says that students partially address both requirements of the prompt or thoroughly address only one requirement of the prompt without addressing the other. We hope that this change makes the distinction between 6 points and 4 points more clear. Under expression and understanding, we have added the language at the beginning that says while conversing at the novice level. So while conversing at the novice level, the student predominantly responds and reacts appropriately to the conversation partner, occasionally expressing varied and original ideas. The student may need minimal repetition and/or rephrasing from the teacher. We added this phrase while conversing at the novice level as a way to differentiate between checkpoint A and checkpoint B. This is also a nice reminder that the teacher should be speaking to the student in language that a novice level learner should be able to understand. For comprehensibility and control of language, Novice High states that the student can be understood by someone who is used to communicating with novice level learners. Errors, including pronunciation, do not interfere with overall comprehensibility. We did change novice language learners to novice level learners in order to clarify that we are speaking about learners at the novice proficiency level. And then we come to discourse and vocabulary. At the novice high level, the revised rubric states that the student predominantly uses simple sentences. The student introduces a wide variety of novice vocabulary and common expressions at various points in the conversation. Previously, the language here focused on how frequently students used simple sentences. We hope the new language more clearly describes the type of language that students use at each proficiency level. Novice high students will predominantly use simple sentences. Novice mid students will use a combination of some simple sentences as well as some single words or phrases. And the novice low student will be using a majority of single words and memorized phrases in their responses. In the vocabulary portion of this dimension, we have also added the word novice before vocabulary to better differentiate this from the intermediate level vocabulary found in checkpoint B. Finally, we have a new Part 1 score report. This new score report sheet has been updated to include Part 1C. So this concludes the changes found in our Part 1 manual. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.